At 80, Richard Chamberlain finally spoke their names, the men he loved in secret. There are secrets in Hollywood that have existed only as whispers for decades. After hours parties, midnight phone calls, relationships no one dared to make public, all of them like fleeting shadows across memory. Richard Chamberlain, the screen icon with the refined face from the Thornbirds, lived two lives. One for the public and one for himself. In his 2003 memoir, Shattered Love, he admitted a truth he had hidden for years. But beyond those pages lies a list of names that once sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Tabloids of the 1960s and 70s printed photos of Chamberlain next to Rock Hudson in Malibu beside Tab, Hunter at private events. And even some British papers claimed Anthony. Perkins and Chamberlain shared secret trips in Europe. No paper ever found the final proof, but those little tidbits kept the rumors alive for half a century. Today, for the first time, we're piecing those fragments together. A list of 8 men from silver screen legends to trusted associates, all linked to Richard Chamberlain in whispered stories, and pay close attention. The man in the number 2 position on this list will completely shock you, a name almost no one expects, yet it appears in multiple behind-the-scenes notes never before made public. This isn't cheap tabloid gossip. This is a part of Hollywood, a place where every spotlight casts a shadow, where stars like Richard Chamberlain live double lives to protect their careers and reputations. Watch until the end of this video to discover that secret. You'll find it hard to believe it's true. Number 1 on our list, Martin Rabbett. This is not a rumor, but the only relationship Richard Chamberlain ever publicly acknowledged. Martin Rabbett is an actor and manager born in 1953 who appeared in several film and television projects. The two met in the late 1970s when Chamberlain was still an American television icon with Dr. Kildare and the Thornbirds. At a time when coming out could end a career overnight, Chamberlain chose to keep his private life secret. Yet behind the scenes, Martin Rabbett became his most steadfast companion. Rabbett wasn't just a partner, he was Chamberlain's manager, behind-the-scenes organizer and travel companion on countless tours. The couple lived together for more than 3 decades in Hawaii. Far from paparazzi lenses and the chaos of Hollywood, reputable magazines such as People, The Advocate, and Vanity Fair have published articles confirming Rabbett as Chamberlain's official partner. Notably, in 2003, when Chamberlain released his memoir, Shattered Love, he publicly came out for the first time and named Martin Rabbett as the most important anchor in his life. This was one of the rare moments when a screen legend of the 1960s and has openly confirmed a long-term same-sex relationship. Something almost unheard of at the time. Martin Rabbitt's appearance in the top position isn't to shock, but to show that behind a Hollywood icon, there can be a real enduring love story that's been verified. It's a crucial piece in understanding why Richard Chamberlain finally opened up after decades of silence. Number 2 on our list, Rock Hudson. If Martin Rabbett was the only relationship Richard Chamberlain ever publicly acknowledged, then Rock Hudson was the most famous closeted icon of classic Hollywood. Born in 1925, Hudson became one of the top leading men of the 1950s and 60s, with films like Giant, Pillow Talk, and Magnificent Obsession. Throughout his career, Hudson projected the image of the ideal man, tall, masculine, the ultimate romantic lead. Yet his private life was always wrapped in rumors. Tabloids of the 1960s and 70s repeatedly linked him with other male stars in sensational stories about secret parties, shared vacations, or unusual relationships. Richard Chamberlain's name often appeared alongside Rock Hudson's in these rumors, though no verified evidence was ever produced. Gossip magazines even printed photos of them allegedly meeting at Malibu or attending private fundraising events together. Those pictures and stories became pieces of the puzzle, feeding the legend of a closeted network in classic Hollywood. In reality, Rock Hudson never publicly acknowledged his sexuality at the height of his career. It wasn't until the mid-1980s during the AIDS crisis that the public learned the truth. That's why Rock Hudson's appearance in the number 2 position isn't just intriguing. It highlights an entire era when stars like Hudson and Chamberlain lived double lives to protect their images. It's one of the clearest examples of the immense pressure Hollywood exerted at the time and the reason these rumors have endured for so long. Number 3 on our list, Tab Hunter. If Rock Hudson represented the perfect man archetype of the 1950s, Tab Hunter was its youthful golden-haired counterpart. Born in 1931, Hunter became one of the ultimate teen idols of the 1950s and 60s. starring in Battle Cry, Damn Yankees, and dozens of other films that cemented him as a clean-cut American heartthrob. On screen, he was the boy next door, athletic, charming, and impossibly handsome. But behind that public image, the studio system worked hard to control his private life. Publicists arranged dates with starlets, tabloids published staged romances, and the pressure to conform to a heterosexual image was relentless. Decades later, in his memoir Tab Hunter Confidential, and in the 2015 documentary of the same name, Hunter finally came out as gay, revealing what it had been like to hide his true self at the height of his fame. He confirmed real relationships with men, notably with actor Anthony Perkins, and spoke openly about the fear and secrecy that defined that era. Although rumors occasionally linked Tab Hunter's name with Richard Chamberlain and other closeted stars of the time, no verified evidence has ever surfaced of a direct romantic relationship between the two. What does exist is a shared experience. Both men were forced to navigate Hollywood's unforgiving public image machine while concealing who they truly were. Tab Hunter's story at number 3 brings the viewer into the world of 1950s to 60s teen idols. A world of carefully manufactured fantasies and hidden realities. It's a crucial piece of understanding how stars like Hunter and Chamberlain lived double lives and why these whispered connections still fascinate us today. Number 4 on our list, Anthony Perkins. Best known for his chilling performance as Norman Bates in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, Perkins became an indelible part of film history. Born in 1932, he was the embodiment of the sensitive, complex leading man of the 1950s and 60s, shy, intellectual, and quietly magnetic. Behind that public persona, Perkins led a private life filled with secrecy and speculation. Hollywood's tabloids of the 1960s frequently whispered about his relationships with men. In particular, a long-rumored romance with Tab Hunter, later confirmed by Hunter himself in his memoir, Tab Hunter Confidential. Perkins, however, never publicly discussed his sexuality while he was alive, maintaining a carefully constructed public image that allowed him to keep working within the studio system. Articles from the era described Perkins appearing at exclusive Los Angeles parties, traveling discreetly with male companions in Europe, and being part of a circle of closeted actors navigating the same pressures Richard Chamberlain would later face. None of these stories about a connection to Chamberlain have been verified, but their persistence speaks to how closely these actors' private lives were scrutinized. In the late 1970s, Perkins married actress Barry Berenson and had 2 sons. But friends and biographers have noted that this did not erase his earlier relationships with men or the intense secrecy he carried. When Perkins died in 1992 from AIDS-related pneumonia, the truth about his private life emerged more fully, revealing a man who had spent decades balancing his artistic legacy against a culture of silence. Anthony Perkins' story at number 4 offers a haunting glimpse into the psychological toll of living 2 lives and why the rumored connections between stars like Perkins, Hunter, and Chamberlain continue to intrigue audiences even today. Number 5 on our list, Troy Donahue. If Tab Hunter and Anthony Perkins were the brooding heartthrobs of the 1950s and 60s, Troy Donahue was their sunlit counterpart. The golden-haired teen idol whose face graced the covers of every fan magazine. Born Merle Johnson Jr. in 1936, Donahue shot to stardom with Warner Brothers contract pictures like A Summer Someplace, Parish, and Susan Slade, becoming the archetype of the clean-cut American boy. But beneath the glossy studio publicity, Troy Donahue's private life was a constant target of gossip. Fan magazines and tabloids routinely speculated about his relationships, questioning whether the carefully arranged dates with actresses were real or simply studio inventions. Stories of secret encounters, hidden friendships, and late-night parties circulated in the Hollywood rumor mill, especially linking Donahue to other closeted stars of his generation. By the late 1960s, as Donahue's career began to wobble, whispers about his personal life grew louder. Some articles alleged he had been part of an underground social circle of actors, including names like Tab Hunter, Anthony Perkins, and Richard Chamberlain, all of whom faced the same pressures to conceal their private selves. No verified evidence of any romantic involvement with Chamberlain has ever been produced, but the shared context of secrecy made Donahue's name a natural part of the speculation. Donahue's later years were marked by financial struggles, a retreat from stardom, and eventually an honest acknowledgement of his battles with addiction. He never publicly came out during his lifetime, leaving only fragments of rumor and innuendo behind. Troy Donahue's story at number 5 reminds us how the Hollywood publicity machine built perfect fantasies for the screen while hiding complex realities off camera, and why names like Donahue's continue to surface in whispered lists tied to Richard Chamberlain and his generation. Number 6 on our list, Sal Mineo. Best remembered for his breakout role alongside James Dean and Natalie Wood in Rebel Without a Cause, Mineo became one of the most acclaimed young actors of the 1950s. Born in 1939 in the Bronx, he received 2 Academy Award nominations before the age of 22, earning a reputation as a sensitive, intense performer who could embody both innocence and danger on-screen. Off-screen, Moe's personal life fascinated the press. Throughout the 1960s, tabloids speculated about his relationships with both men and women, often portraying him as part of Hollywood's hidden social circles. Unlike many of his peers, however, Moe began to acknowledge his bisexuality more openly in the 1970s, speaking candidly in interviews about the freedom he felt in living more authentically. Articles from that era linked Mineo to a number of prominent figures in Hollywood's closeted scene, and his name occasionally appeared in speculative lists alongside Richard Chamberlain, Tab Hunter, Anthony Perkins, and Troy Donahue. Yet, as with the others on this list, no verified evidence has ever surfaced of a romantic connection to Chamberlain himself, only a shared experience of navigating the same restrictive industry. Tragically, Mineo's life was cut short in 1976 when he was stabbed to death outside his apartment in West Hollywood, a crime that shocked the entertainment world. His openness about his sexuality and his violent death made him a symbol of both the progress and the peril faced by LGBTQ figures in Hollywood at the time. Sal Mineo's story at number 6 underscores the risks these actors took simply to be themselves and how their names became woven into the mythology of Richard Chamberlain's generation, a generation forced to live behind the silver screen's carefully constructed facade. Number 7 on our list, Roddy McDowall. A British-born actor who grew up on screen, McDowall began his career as a child star in the 1940s, later reinventing himself as a versatile character actor in Hollywood. Best known to modern audiences for his role as Cornelius and later Caesar in the original Planet of the Apes films, he built a decades-long reputation as one of the industry's most reliable and sophisticated performers. Away from the cameras, McDowall cultivated a vast network of friendships with actors, directors, and studio insiders. He was also an avid photographer, famously documenting Hollywood's elite in intimate behind-the-scenes moments. That privileged access fueled speculation. Tabloids from the 1960s through the 1980s frequently listed McDowall among the so-called closeted stars of classic Hollywood, hinting at secret relationships and hidden circles of influence. Richard Chamberlain's name occasionally appeared alongside McDowall's in these whispered stories, not as verified partners, but as 2 actors navigating the same pressures of secrecy in the same era. No evidence has ever substantiated a romantic connection. Yet, the overlap in social circles and the constant tabloid interest kept McDowall's name tied to Chamberlain's in rumor. What stands out most about McDowall is how gracefully he balanced his public and private selves. Despite never publicly coming out during his lifetime, he maintained a dignified presence and left behind an extraordinary archive of Hollywood photography, a time capsule of an era defined by image management and hidden realities. Roddy McDowall's story at number 7 captures the quieter side of the closeted Hollywood mythos, a man who documented the very world that speculated about him, and whose name continues to surface in discussions of Richard Chamberlain's generation and its untold histories. Number 8 on our list, George Maharis. Best known for his brooding charm on the classic television series Route 66, Maharis became a symbol of early 1960s cool. Leather jackets, windswept highways, and a hint of danger behind his smile. Born in 1928 in Queens, New York, he was part of the first wave of television actors to achieve movie star levels of fame. Yet Maharis's off-screen life collided with Hollywood's image machine in a very public way. In 1967, tabloids exploded with stories about his arrest in a Beverly Hills men's restroom, a scandal framed in the press as a morals charge. The incident was one of the earliest high-profile cases to expose the precarious position of closeted actors in the entertainment industry. Though Maharis denied some of the more salacious claims, the damage to his career was immediate and long-lasting. His name would later surface in the same speculative lists that included Richard Chamberlain, Rock Hudson, Tab Hunter, and others. Not because of proven relationships, but because Maharis's public scandal embodied the very fear that kept so many of his peers silent. The tabloid press used his arrest as a template for stories about hidden networks of gay actors, sometimes inserting Chamberlain's name into these narratives without evidence. After Route 66, Maharis continued working in television and nightclubs, but never fully recovered his leading man status. He later spoke candidly about his struggles with typecasting and public perception, though he stopped short of confirming any of the rumors. George Maharis's story at number 8 closes our list with a reminder of how brutal the stakes were for actors suspected of being gay in mid-century Hollywood. His experience illustrates why so many names, including Richard Chamberlain's, were woven together in whispers and headlines, creating a mythology that still fascinates decades later. From Martin Rabbett to George Maharis, each of these 8 names paints a hidden portrait of Hollywood's golden age, an era of glittering premieres and secret lives, where fame and fear walked hand in hand. Behind the movie posters and publicity photos were real people navigating impossible choices, crafting double lives to protect their art and their survival. These stories aren't just rumors, they're pieces of a larger puzzle, a reminder of how much history has been lost to silence, how much was whispered in shadows while the cameras rolled. Even today, new documents and testimonies continue to surface, reshaping our understanding of the stars we thought we knew. And remember, the revelations in this video are only the beginning. We have many more hidden chapters, forgotten scandals, and untold stories to explore, stories that will completely change the way you see classic Hollywood. If you've been captivated by this journey into the secret history of the Golden Age, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell right now. That way, you'll never miss our next deep dive into the myths, mysteries, and shocking truths behind Hollywood's brightest stars.